fall into big savings, all in the Kroger app. Get tender bone-in pork back ribs for $3.49 a pound with your card. Then get 16-ounce packages of juicy strawberries for $1.99 with your card and a digital coupon. Shop these deals at your local Kroger today, or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed. Limited time. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. I'm Jess Sterling. As always,
you couldn't keep it out.
I'm Jess Sterling. It gets British. Here with my illustrious co-host, someone who loves to shop at Christmas World, Stuart. Stuart,
I apologize for everything that this episode is going to be, everyone. I'm so sorry.
Listen, we asked and you answered. We asked you to subscribe to us on YouTube to get us to 100 subscribers, and you did it. And we delivered. So if you're wondering why I did a really, really poor Moira Rose impression at the top of the podcast, watch this video on YouTube and you'll see us in our beautiful Moira-esque cheap imitation wigs.
Mm-hmm. The Google search was bad wigs and Google provided.
Yes. Our overlord Google was here to help us out. For those who cannot watch on YouTube, I am sporting a bubblegum pink bob with bangs, is how I would describe it. She is cheap. She does not fit my head, and I am so itchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, much the same. And I'm sporting what can only be described as, and this may be a reference only our British listeners get, Pat Sharp from the 80s. I'm guessing you don't know who the hell
I have
Pat
no
Sharp
idea
is.
who that is.
Oh, this hurts
Google.
me. If you get an opportunity, have a search for Pat Sharp. Funhouse Pat Sharp presenter. He had this biggest like bouffon hair, but like
mullet,
full on mullet. Yeah.
Yours is,
Wild.
I can't tell the color of yours, like if it's the camera. It has a tinge of like green, but I can't tell if it's the camera.
It's a little bit, it's also a bit shiny. It's also missing a section here for some reason. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
How do drag queens do this?
I don't know. Credit to literally anyone who wears a wig with any sort of regularity, because 1, I have too big of a head for this. 2, it is very itchy. And 3, I can only imagine how expensive it is to get wigs that actually look decent, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So we're here today. We're going to sport our wigs all podcast long. So like we said, if you're not already, go to YouTube, find us at Talkin' Shit, subscribe, check out the video, because you really don't want to miss this once in a lifetime opportunity.
I dread to think what we're going to do for 200.
I don't know. We hopefully, well, I guess not. Hopefully, maybe we won't have to figure that out for a while, but hey, maybe we will. Who knows? Get us there, people. Anyway, we're talking season 3, episode 7 of Schitt's Creek, General Store. Stuart, general thoughts on General Store?
Cracking episode. I think we talked last week about like what this whole setup could be, what with Alexis and the high school of it all, and then like David with like for a long time wondering what he's going to do with the money. And I think I'm liking where it's going. Some really good stuff happened. I can't tell you how much I shouted and screamed when I realized Alexis school, who teaches at the school. And then those two ideas came together, and I saw Jocelyn, and I was like, this is what I need. This is what I need.
Yeah, because we've heard from Jocelyn before that she teaches teen boys because she was like, sometimes they get an erection. And like,
Does she actually say it like that?
I don't know, maybe. So yeah, Alexis is now in high school. This is a really great, I think this is a good example of like a setup episode that is still very funny and still has a lot of good comedy in it. I know we were a little harsh on last week's episode because it felt more exposition-y, not as funny, like just not a ton going on. This, I think, is the exact opposite, where we are setting things up. Alexis is now back in school. David wants to get a store open in town. Johnny has an idea for a continental breakfast that like kind of works out, if not for his family, that they just take all of the cinnamon buns. I
mean, wouldn't you though? Like, those look good.
Yeah, especially if they're in the lobby. Like, absolutely, I'm taking one. Ivan makes a good cinnamon bun. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I'd say cinnamon buns are good all year round, but this especially hits considering we're in like full autumn right now. So cinnamon buns are everything that I want to eat.
Do you have apple cider donuts there?
We do, but they're not that big of a thing. Like you seem to talk about them as if you can't move for them around this time of year. Well, I like the sound of them.
Yeah, I mean, I live in New York, the state of New York, so apples are like a big thing here. A lot of orchards around. If you like ever have a chance to go to an apple orchard in season and get a fresh, hot apple cider donut, with some like apple cider on the side, nothing better. Like truly peak fall vibes. Screw pumpkin spice. That's right, I said it. Give me apple cider all day long over pumpkin spice.
That's fighting talk, that is.
It is. All the basic bitches gonna come for me. But you know what? I don't like pumpkin spice. More for them. More for them, you know? I'm really doing them a favor.
I mean, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Pumpkin spice. I mean, it's wonderful. It's warming. It's inviting. It's cozy. And you keep saying cider, and I keep getting excited because cider over here is just alcoholic. Yeah, like, it's an alcoholic beverage.
See, we would call it. I have to remember,
you Americans, hard cider. Oh my god,
hard cider.
Whereas, like, I'm here going, oh, wait, you can get alcoholic donuts? Oh wait, no.
I mean, we have rum donuts. Cake. That's a thing. So theoretically, you could get alcoholic
from Barbara's
cake
over here as well. Yeah. Booze in desserts. I mean, top tier for whoever came up with that idea.
Truly. Ivan should get on that as well because I bet he can make a fantastic boozy dessert. Let's get into recapping this episode of Schitt's Creek. It's an episode of New Beginnings. Alexis is back in high school to finish out her degree. And at first, she thinks the other students are gossiping about her and gonna bully her. But it turns out they admire her. So I guess good on Alexis for having high school students admire her, you know? Sure, great. The local general store is closing its doors, leaving the storefront open for a new tenant to swoop in and bring a new business to Schitt's Creek. Bob, with pressure from Gwen, and Roland want Christmas World to open its doors, but Ronnie and Moira are resistant until David shows interest in starting his own business in the open storefront, where Moira turns around and completely changes her tune. It turns out David's entire professional career has been a sham. Moira and Johnny were buying out all of David's galleries without him knowing. And by the end of the episode, Christmas World has pulled out of the space and David gets the lease. So very exciting for him. With Stevie's urging, I should note. Johnny has a great business idea for the motel. He's going to do a continental breakfast, which I love this episode for explaining what a continental breakfast is, because I have traveled a little bit, you know, and I've gone to hotels and not known what the heck a continental breakfast is when they're serving it. So good on him for explaining what it means.
What? How can you not know what a continental breakfast is? Like, if you've been to a hotel that offers one, like, surely you just look at what's on available and be like, oh, that's a continental breakfast. Surely.
The thing is, the word continental, in my opinion, sounds fancy. It sounds like, ooh, big buffet, lots of options, all kinds of breakfast. In fact, it is the opposite. It's like, here's a very, very select few things that you can possibly have for breakfast. So I just think continental isn't the right word. It should be like small breakfast, tiny sampling of breakfast, not actual breakfast.
I guess. I mean, there's going to be some staples. Like, you're going to get pastries. You're going to get some form of, like, bready thing, cheeses,
but here's the
meats.
thing. When you hear the word breakfast, what is the first food that comes to mind?
Bacon.
Oh, see, mine is eggs. But, like, you're not getting either with a continental breakfast. You're not getting either.
No, and it's always disappointing. Yeah, go for the English breakfast. Full English. Can't beat
Full
it.
English all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, Johnny, continental breakfast, brilliant idea. He reaches out to bagel guy Ivan, so happy to see Ivan back, to see if he can whip up some cinnamon buns for the motel. And Ivan offers to give them to Johnny for free if he talks to Twyla for him, because Ivan has a crush on Twyla, but he just needs a little help in the wooing, flirting department, I would say.
I mean, more than a little bit of help, but he needs like a full crash course in, you know, just being able to talk to Twyla. Like, come on, he could do so much better than this, surely.
He should have worked on the punchline for Bon Appetit a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand getting a bit nervous, but dude needs to, like, rehearse. If he's going to go in with a joke at the very least, like, surely get that stuff nailed down.
Exactly. Ultimately, it all goes to hell in a handbasket when the Roses eat all the cinnamon buns that were supposed to be for the guests. And that's our episode of Schitt's Creek today.
I thought this episode was great. I thought it was such a refresher after last week's. And also, I felt like we got some decent plots going on. Like, we got Alexis going to high school. We got the Johnny and Ivan thing. We got David and the store. We kind of also tangentially got Moira and the town council and the store. So I felt like we got a heck of a lot out of this, which is something we haven't had a lot, or at least in the last week's episode. So this, I'm not sure if I'm just riding on a high because it's much, much better than last week's, but I was like, this episode was fantastic.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, 2 out of the 3 storylines are like really good. And one is like, it's fine. It doesn't like offend me, but it's fine. And the one that is fine, in my opinion, is that Alexis goes to high school. Because it is a little weird that she's like, again, Alexis wants to be adored no matter where she goes. So it's not surprising that she's like seeking the adoration of some high school students. It is a little weird. And maybe that's just me, where it's like, oh, like, you're gonna go have lunch with like high schoolers? Alexis, come on, you're a grown adult. Like, I think we've talked about this. What is she, like 25-ish? Like, stop it, Alexis. Like, you're better than that, girl.
Yeah, but like, I think they did well in setting it up because they'd framed it from David and his getting bullying, and they didn't have to worry about that with Alexis because apparently she didn't turn up, which is great. She don't turn up, don't get bullied. So I think maybe there is that kind of just worry, especially like in the car journey over and they're talking about it. It's like, who does that?
I loved that. I loved them being like, yeah, somebody did get bullied. And David's like, I wasn't bullied. And she's like, oh, poor dear. He doesn't even know he was bullied.
So blissfully unaware.
It was perfect. And it also makes so much sense that like these teenage girls would be like, oh, Alexis is so cool. Like, she's met Kirsten Dunst. Like, she's the coolest. It makes a lot of sense. I love Alexis like standing up in front of the class and being like, I would like each of you to tell me 5 things about yourself. Like,
yeah.
It is very Alexis.
Like, so Alexis. Like, completely derails it. And I love Jocelyn trying to like keep it going and just be like, no, we're actually really far behind, and like having to deal with all of that. But 5 things? Really? If pushed, could you say 5 things?
Any icebreaker.
Yeah.
I don't want to know 5 things about almost anyone.
I struggle with one interesting thing, and I'm wearing a wig right now. Like, how?
So true, though. So yeah, it's like, it wasn't that plot line didn't work for me. I just think it was more average than the other plot lines that I really enjoyed and thought they did such a good job with. Like the fact that we have the general store closing, it's Stevie who's pushing David to open a business. I think not in a small part due to her kind of taking on her own new venture and like knowing that he needs someone to push him to do something with this like 40K that's sitting in the bank.
Mhm.
So I love that from Stevie. And then I love David being like, David has the kind of confidence to do it because in his mind, his galleries were so successful, and getting the rug pulled out from under him by Moira and finding out like, no, we bought everything. Like we were the reason you were successful. Like that is a huge shock. How do you go from thinking, wow, I had such a successful business and on and on and on in New York City of all places, and then finding out, no, your mommy and daddy like were the ones responsible for your success? That's like awful.
It's heartbreaking. Like to have your entire basis for something that you're proud of pulled away from you like that is horrible. And I was so upset in the moment. I was like, Moira, how did you do this? For one thing, you're not only like with David finding out now, you're making David sad, which is awful, but you're also contributing to the world of Nepo babies and the entitlement that comes with that. And I hate it so much. But could David have been successful without that? Like
he won't never know.
We will never know. Yeah. And, like neither will we. And it's awful because now it's just always going to be attributed to it. It's put such a sour taste in everything. And I think that were it not for, I think, David rightfully having a bit of self-confidence and having Stevie to back him up there with that bit towards the end, I think if this was anyone else, that this would decimate them. Like, I don't think many people would recover from that. I'd be like, if it happened to me, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm done.
I'm just gonna live off this 40K forever. Yeah, it's totally rough, and it's because David does have an artistic eye. He is creative. Like that's what stinks. Is it's not like he's just any Joe Schmo who opened an art gallery and we don't know, obviously we didn't see it, but no, we know David's taste. We know what his style is like, so we can imagine what it was like. And he does have the right taste for it. And the fact that it's really quite sad to see how little Moira believes in him when she is at first very against Christmas World. I also love that her and Ronnie are on the same side. And I think if you were to be like, okay, which Schitt's Creek characters would be into Christmas World and which Schitt's Creek characters would be like, no, thank you, we don't want that in our town, I feel like the show got it right. Like Bob with pressure from Gwen is very pro Christmas World. You know that Roland and Jocelyn would spend so much time there. But I love that Ronnie is just like, I feel like Ronnie would be like, that's tacky. Like, no, like you're tacky and I hate you. Like that is Ronnie's vibe. And Moira being against it also makes sense. So it really sucks when very like suddenly Moira's like, yes, Christmas World sounds great. It's like, gosh, give David a chance. Like just believe in him for a second that he could do something, you know?
Yeah, it's so I can't get over it. It's just so sad the way that like kind of Moira is in one way trying to be incredibly loving. Like she's doing it out of concern for him being kind of upset and disappointed, but it's just the worst way to go about it. Certainly agree with you on the whole way in which it kind of divides down between like Ronnie and Moira being initially against Christmas World. I thought Ronnie's attack on silver Christmas trees was
I loved
top
it.
Tier.
Yeah, I am not.
Tier.
Everyone is allowed to like whatever they like. You know, your style is your own. Okay. I can't with a silver Christmas tree. I can't even with tinsel. Tinsel, and if you love tinsel, Godspeed, more for you. I just think it looks so tacky, and I can't do tinsel. I will never do tinsel on my tree.
Tinsel in the right application, like I think if you're leaning into the tacky element, tinsel can work.
If that's what you're going for,
it has to
sure,
be in
yeah.
that vibe. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
silver tree is something I can't get on board with, and I'm very sorry if anyone listening has a silver tree, but you're awful.
Like
Terrible.
I if you want like a fun colored Christmas tree and that's your aesthetic and you're leaning in, Godspeed, all you. I prefer more of like I feel like I've talked about this on a podcast, but I don't care because we're almost to the holiday season. We're getting there. I went into Home Goods yesterday and they were clearancing their Halloween stuff. Christmas stuff was out. It's already implanted in my brain thanks to society. I have leaned into like the all white vibe for Christmas. Like I grew up, I feel like there's two families, right? There's a family that had colored lights on their tree, and there's the family that had white lights on their tree. I came from a colored lights household, so I was used to that my whole life. But recently, in the past like couple of years, I'm a white light girly. I think it looks elegant as fuck, and that's what I want in my Christmas tree to look elegant and pretty.
It's so funny because completely the same colored lights family,
well,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I want white lights. I want warm white lights that are going to be kind
warm,
of neutral.
specifically warm.
Where do you stand on bulb flickering and presets and all of that stuff?
So we have a fake tree that has it's a lot of options. You could do like white, you could do colored, you could do white that changes to colored, you could do blinking white. I am okay with a little bit of a twinkle if it's not like strobe light twinkle, if it's like slow and kind of nice, like pulsating light. But I'll tell you what gives me the biggest ick of my life. This is something that if I knew someone, I couldn't date someone, I couldn't do anything with someone if they were like, yeah, for my outdoor lights, I mix and match warm and cool white. The hell is wrong with you?
Get in the bin. Get
out of here.
Like,
move.
Yeah. No, the mixing like temperatures of lights is the worst sin. The worst.
It's like, oh, I just ran out, so I just added an extra strand of a different thing. Get out of here. Start from scratch. What are you doing?
No.
But where do you stand on strobing lights, flickering lights?
I hate all settings. I'm like, have it on or have it off. Don't even worry about like twinkling and like
you
all
have
this
to
stuff.
full ass one thing, no half assing.
Because you're never going to please anyone, and so just have it on that, and it'll be nice and there. Also, I hate a bit whenever you've got like a TV in like peripheral, TV in a Christmas tree in peripheral vision, and you see it twinkling because it's always super distracting.
Yeah, there's a glare.
Although I used to love getting the bus in winter in central London because then you'd see like all the different houses and you'd see like just these curtains that were just being illuminated by these strobe like Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And I would just think, how do these people live without a migraine? I can't do it.
Also, I love that this has devolved into Christmas talk because we were talking about Christmas World. But seriously, though, I think they did a great job with like Christmas World is such a store that would like, oh, we're just going to pull right up on. It's like Spirit Halloween. Like there's just random stores that are always like Christmas year round. And, you know, this is the shop to do it in.
But surely make it, I've never understood these stores. Why not have it be seasonal? So that around Christmas, it's that. Halloween, seasonal, Easter, like you could theme it every year and have rotating stock and then not actually, go through one huge peak towards the end of the year. You can actually, have sustained business. I don't know why I'm questioning the legitimacy of a business plan for a sitcom. We have gone too far with this podcast.
I know. Here's the thing though. I agree with you. And I don't think it's just, I do not think it is just on the sitcom. I think this is a real life thing. There are stores, like there is a local shopping plaza that like occasionally there'll be a Spirit Halloween in there and then it disappears. And it's like, why isn't there a store that does change seasonally where it's like, okay, Halloween time. Nope. Now we're done with that. Now it's Christmas. Okay. Now we're done with that. Now it's like spring/Easter, whatever, non-denominational spring, whatever. There's a way to do it that makes sense. Christmas year round doesn't make a ton of sense to me. There are people who love Christmas more than I do that would be for them. Gwen seems to be one of those people.
Imagínate escuchar tu canción favorita como si fuera la primera vez. Te presentamos el totalmente nuevo y reimaginado Nissan Kicks con sonido Bose Personal Plus y bocinas en la parte superior de los asientos para crear una experiencia 360. Jamás has escuchado algo así. Reimagina tu música y tu forma de manejar. Descubre el totalmente nuevo y reimaginado Nissan Kicks en nissanusa.com. Función disponible. Bose es una marca registrada de The Bose Corporation.
But yeah, the way that Moira does not believe in David is really heartbreaking. And I almost wish we had gotten, and I like this episode, so I'm not trying to critique it too much, but I feel like when Moira comes in with the silver tree up and she has like changed her tune, she's into Christmas World, you could see the skepticism on Ronnie's face. And I almost wish there had been a follow-up conversation between Moira and Ronnie about like what was going on, and maybe she's the one who convinces Moira like you should believe in David a little bit more, because like come to find out Christmas World pulled out. It wasn't that Moira talked, unless you think Moira's lying.
Well, that in the ideal world would be best, because it then means that Moira's come to the right conclusion. Although Moira does say that she was going to come, or she had the strategy, but she wasn't able to implement it because they pulled out beforehand.
We've heard that before from Moira, so I don't know. She's like,
I
I was so persuasive. There were so many questions.
Well, I did like how she broke the news about Christmas World pulling out and being like, I come bearing good news. And then David just being like, your friends at Christmas World looking for a deeply embittered, mildly Hebraic looking elf, which was the funniest line from this episode for me. I thought it was brilliant. But this conversation that like came about, and she gets to admit that she was wrong in a way, and she did attempt or want to make amends, but circumstance managed to do it for them, so it's an easy thing to kind of get over. But I thought that this was a big thing just to kind of gloss over and get over. So, I mean, props to David for rolling with it. And I think obviously, he knows what to expect with Moira. I think this is probably just another in many kind of disappointments in a family that's very unconventional.
Sure, I just also think it's like, that's going to stick with him for a minute. Like, that is such a massive betrayal in like his past that he wasn't expecting, you know? I think his family has done a lot of things. I don't think he necessarily expected that a betrayal like that to come up. We obviously didn't see him discuss any of it with Johnny, but it does stink. But I am ultimately happy that David is like, you know, she's like, it's the lease is there if you want it. He seems to be moving forward with it. That made me very happy. And again, shouts to Stevie for even like pushing him to do it in the first place, because I don't think David ends up doing it if not for Stevie pushing him.
Oh yeah, and I've been really complimentary about Stevie kind of stepping out and having her own storyline with Johnny recently. But it was nice to have a Stevie and David kind of moment.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And also like Stevie just having his back. It's so great. Like their friendship is goals. I kind of love it. Good. And also like when they're walking around the general store and he's like, I don't want to hear you say the word fungal again. She goes, fungal. It's just, she's always poking, and I love it.
She skipped her breakfast and she's low on fungal cream. It's
who hasn't been there?
So Johnny, I think this is a great idea because it's something small, right? A continental breakfast doesn't have to be very big, as I complained about earlier. It's a bunch of a variety of pastries. He already has the connection with Ivan, so you might as well use that connection. Ivan is making muffins for the cafe, so he knows that he's like in the business of doing this sort of thing. And Ivan needs some help with wooing Twyla. So Johnny is really making out well here, where all he has to do is step in and kind of grease the wheels a little bit. You know, Ivan just needs to get his approach down. I think the problem is he's acting a little too aloof.
I mean, a little too aloof.
He just ignores Twyla.
There's a point in media and in life where people who don't really have game are really endearing and it's really sweet and you kind of want to root for them. But there was a point where it just tipped over for a bit for me, where I was like, Ivan, get it together, guy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Bon appetit, Ivan. Bon appetit. It was a good joke if he had just gotten the punchline right. Like Twyla would have liked that joke if it was like the delivery was good.
Yeah, like as shown with the amount of times that she's laughed at Johnny's jokes, Twyla is not averse to humoring people.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, who can blame Ivan? Twyla is delightful. And I thought the fact that like he has a crush on her was really sweet, and the fact that he did the baking to try and talk to her, and like it wasn't like a bribe situation, it was just an excuse kind of thing, it's kind of sweet.
It is, and I love that we're reusing Ivan from the Bob's Bagels episode.
Yeah.
I love that, like, he's confused. He's like, I don't make coffee. I just make coffee for myself. Like, I loved the entire confusion there and Johnny trying to, like, work all of this out. And I really love that at the end, the roses end up, of course, it always happens this way. It happened with the car. Now it's happening with the cinnamon buns. No one appreciates Johnny's hard work, and they all just eat all the cinnamon buns.
I mean, as I said before, they looked really good. They were like thick buns. They had loads of icing on, and you don't want to serve guests day olds. Like, so
you really don't. A cinnamon bun has to be fresh and like almost has to be warm, even to be enjoyable. Like, I don't know. I think if you're getting cold cinnamon bun, I don't think it's anywhere near as delicious.
You're not going to get a star if you give people day olds.
Yeah, a single star, exactly. So I do think
is there an actual system for the stars? I don't understand. Like, because everyone like
I assume it was
about...
like what's it called? What's the popular Yelp? Maybe it was Yelp. Do you have Yelp in the UK?
Yelp? You mean isn't that restaurants?
Oh, is it not? Maybe it's Google reviews then. I don't know. Is Yelp not also for motels?
But like, I thought there was like an official system. It's kind of like how Michelin give out stars for like food. But for hotels, I'm not sure if there's actually like an accrediting body. Although in the film Dunstan Checks In, which have you seen Dunstan Checks In, Jess?
Of course I have, and the fact that you're using that as a basis for like.
No, but in that there is like a hotel reviewer who can drop a star, which makes me think that I used to always think that there was, but I don't think there isn't an accrediting body now. But anyway,
I always feel like it's like a Google thing where it's like if Google says they have 4 stars, then they're like, we have 4 stars, you know?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I like this idea from Johnny. I think it's not super expensive. It gets people to talk about the motel and give it a good review. It could be good business for Ivan if he ever wants to like go into the baking business full time. I think all around a really smart play by Johnny. And I really liked it because I feel like we talked about this a lot. Johnny has had a lot of losing moments, and to see him get a tiny, tiny win is very satisfying.
It is, but it could have been better. Because hear me out. Instead of a continental breakfast with cinnamon buns, picture this. Bagel station with all the fillings that you could want every morning with Bob's Bagels supplied. Not only are you supplying the hotel, you're setting up a business and you've got your first customer.
I think the problem is Johnny's already invested all his time into the motel. I don't think he has time to set up Bob's Bagels. And I think the thing Johnny does not want is to be in business with Bob.
Probably wise. I feel like we're seeing the wheels come off Bob at the moment. Like his whole desperation and also being very kind of whipped by Gwen with this whole Christmas World thing was so funny.
Here's my one critique of like the show / Bob. We hear a lot about Gwen and her preferences and like, you know, oh, she needs this and that and she wants Christmas World. I want to see more of Gwen. We've only seen her in like that one episode where Moira and Johnny boink in the cabin. Like, where's Gwen? Let Gwen charge in and be like, I want Christmas World. Like, come on, where's Gwen?
I don't know why. The way you kind of talked about that made me think that she was like this oil baron's wife that came in with a fur and just demands things.
I want it now. Yeah, just like that. I think I do like it though. I think it's very funny because he's like, "Oh, that's Gwen calling now. Here are the good news." Like, what did he say? He said something like, "Gwen said, get Christmas World in there or don't come home." That's such a severe reaction.
Like, if I didn't get it passed, I shouldn't come home. And he kind of nervously laughs and he goes, "I shouldn't come home." And he almost sounds like he's about to start sobbing.
So sad. It's so funny. So yeah, I think this storyline worked really well for me. I think it involves like a previous character who was really like, it was blink and you miss him, but it was fun to have him back. It involves Johnny like actually scoring something good. And of course the roses kind of ruining it for him. What else is new, you know? Anything else we missed from this episode, Stuart, before we get into feedback?
I thought Roland was top form of being Roland. Like, just, you don't turn down Christmas World. Tourist dollars. The stupid line of that. I thought the fact that he was for it made total sense. I think we touched on it earlier, like when you talked about the alignment of it all. I think it totally, world building wise, I think it totally makes sense that Roland would be up for it. Jocelyn too. Where do you think they get all their ornaments from?
Yeah.
They would be so down for that tat.
They get a custom ornament every year of like, have you seen those ornaments where it's like you have the people on them and then it has like your names written on them and it's like, oh, this is us fishing, this is us doing whatever. I guarantee they get one every year. They definitely have a nude cribbage ornament for sure.
Wow. Okay, that's a choice. I was thinking snow globes with like little images inside.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing though. Probably Jocelyn and Gwen have like those collectible things. There's all sorts of them, obviously. There was those like, what are those like angel baby things? The little ones that pray. There's those ones. There's I'm blanking on the name. There are these statue things that people can collect and they're wooden and they don't have faces, which is what creeps me out the most about them. And they're in all different poses and they're like collectible. I feel like both of them, we've seen Jocelyn's house and how many tchotchkes she has. I feel like both of them would be the people that like go to Hallmark on the day that those things arrive, whatever the yearly thing is that comes out and goes and gets it.
I can't fool that logic. Like she totally is that person.
Willow people. That's what they're called.
People. Willow.
Willow. They're called Willow Tree figurines, and there's all different ones, and they're so creepy to me because they don't have faces.
And that is something I will be avoiding forever.
I'm really bothered. I can't remember the other one. But it's like these little peace people. I don't know what.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm looking at images now. They're a little bit creepy. Like, but they're not that.
It's just not for me. I'm not a collectible tchotchke person. Jocelyn is. We know what she does with those tchotchkes.
Yeah. Right up his butt.
Thank you for just full on telling the people exactly what she does.
They know.
They all know. They know what she does.
And if you don't, go all the way back to I think it's like episode 3 of season 1.
Really early on, we talked about it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's get into our feedback here. We heard from Jared, who said, for better or worse, I'm with David on the quality of the general store. I appreciate cheap stores and want to support them, but something about the way that they haphazardly put food next to things that food shouldn't be next to just grosses me out, even though the food is all sealed. How do you feel about this, Stuart?
There are certain shops that shouldn't do certain things. And I feel that some of these shops, they do fresh food and they shouldn't do fresh food. Like, I don't trust it one bit. I used to have a shop really close to my home that my friends once stopped by and he grabbed a sandwich from. And he got a chicken sandwich and it was the whitest thing ever. It was like really kind of bleached white bread. And like the chicken was white. Bit into it, bright pink. Just stick to what you're good at. Just stick to what you're good at. Like, do one thing and do one thing well. Don't do lots of things really badly. I kind of hate it when they kind of mix all this stuff up. But you do get the occasional great bargain, which is the only one good thing about this. Yeah. There's a place near my friends that we call the Cave of Wonders, because when we go in, we find stuff that I swear has been there since the 1980s. Like, we found... do you have slush puppies over there? Like the little... like icy drinks where
slushies,
it's just crushed ice. Yeah. It was a soft drink, but with those syrups, like as the flavors, which is just nuclear in design.
I don't know what that's really going to do to my gastrointestinal system.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I hate to support big business, but like I'd rather go to somewhere big that I can kind of rely on a little bit better.
I mean, I think the thing that would gross me out isn't necessarily like the packaged food, right? Like cereal is sealed up.
Yeah.
It's not going to get contaminated. It's like the fresh food that I'm like dubious on, like a sandwich, a burger, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I've had an occasional convenience store like burger or slice of pizza. Sometimes you just have to do it, you know? It's what's there, you got to do it.
Slice of pizza?
Yeah.
Wow.
They have the
America
rotating
is
thing.
Strange.
You can get really gross food in America. Like if you want, you can get it. You know, so if you want to be a dumpster, it's here for this.
I don't
week.
doubt that. When I saw that there were hot dogs on sale in the petrol garage, I was so shocked. I was like, what? Hot dogs? But now we get them over here because we copy you, apparently. It's disgusting.
Certainly. Yeah, it's certainly pretty gross. I don't know. That general store seems like there's a place around the corner from us that's a convenience store, and like we'll run it. It's like, we ran out of milk, but we don't feel like going to the full grocery store. I'll just run over there and get it. And actually, it's called Stewart's. It's not spelled the way your name is, though.
So it's wrong.
But yes. But yeah, I don't disagree with what Jared is saying. It's just more of like if it's fresh food, I'm like, ooh, I don't know.
Mhm.
We also got an email from Shannon. When you asked who would win Schitt's Creek Survivor, I immediately thought it would be Jake, obviously. But Ronnie is a great choice too, so I'm not as sure about Jake. I don't think the character to be named later is shrewd enough. That is the one that I think would win. He couldn't handle Ronnie at all when challenged. And you're getting to the part of the show where I always start my rewatches, and I'm so excited. So,
Who is this character?
You'll
I feel like there is
see.
an elephant in the room that everyone keeps talking about.
Mm.
Like in the Discord, people have been talking, they've been tagging this episode that I have watched, and they're still saying no Stuart.
Yeah.
And it's making me paranoid. I feel like there is a big secret. Does
It's
someone
Ivan.
die? It's Ivan.
No, there's
Like, what?
there's very exciting stuff on the horizon. I think people are just like really, really pumped about it. I'd be surprised if you didn't at least tangentially know of this character's existence. I'd be a little surprised. Like I know there's like a ton of stuff you're not spoiled on. I think when there's a big character that gets introduced, even in pop culture, it's sometimes like difficult to avoid that sort of, you know, information. So I'd be surprised if you'd never heard of this upcoming character. Obviously you haven't seen the show, so you haven't seen all the incredibleness from them. But yeah, it is on the horizon and it is very exciting. I've been waiting 3 seasons for us to get here.
Oh wow. I mean, you say that like you'd be surprised. I'm not observant with stuff that I don't care about. And until we started this, I did not care about Schitt's Creek aside from which GIF was best to use. So
That's fair. That's fair.
maybe.
We'll see. When this person arrives and we discuss them in a ton of detail, I will pester you with questions on like, did you know this? Did you know that? Because like I said,
Fantastic.
for Schitt's Creek, most of the characters are there from the beginning. So this isn't a matter of like, oh, and then this isn't a, oh God, I was going to reference Parks and Rec again, but you know, I just can't because someone hasn't seen it. It's fine. There's certain characters in Parks and Rec that don't come in until season 3. Actually, I think it is season 3. And it's almost
Rob
like
Lowe's character.
yes. And
Dang.
Adam Scott. And it's almost like the show finally feels like the show once they're there. It's like you forgot they weren't always there kind of thing. Anyway, so that's excitement for later on in season 3. But first, let's give out some ratings for this episode. Stuart, who was simply the best this episode?
Simply the best, I think, is a lot easier to give this week. As per usual, stuck between 2. I think I'm leaning towards David.
Okay.
There's a fantastic podcast that I listen to called Tony and Ryan. It's 2 Australians and they are vulgar as anything, but they're wonderful and really hilarious. And they've got a mantra on there, which is start the effing blog. And David starts the effing blog. He gets on with a plan and starts it. And I'm loving that. I want to see how far this goes, and I want to see where this general score ends up.
Okay. I had a similar thought. However, I do think I want to give someone else a little bit of credit as well. And I think I'm going to give my point to Stevie. Like, I do think David definitely earned the point, but I really love Stevie being like a supportive friend who pushed him to do this. Because I think without her, I don't think he does it. And I just think, I don't know. I feel like I haven't given Stevie enough points throughout the series, and I feel like she's having a good season, and I want to give her a little point for that. So those are simply the best points. Let's move on to Disgruntled Pelican. I have something upsetting to do this week, and it is giving a Disgruntled Pelican point to Moira. And the thing is, she so deserves it. Like, not only did like this massive betrayal of like having, you know, the Nepo baby of it all, and then also trying to get the Christmas world into the general store to like, quote unquote, protect David. Like, it's all just wrong. It's all wrong. And I don't like it. And I don't like it from Moira. And it makes me sad. And so I have to take a point away from her. And I feel bad doing so. This is a season of highs and lows for Moira. She has gotten points and she has gotten points taken away. And unfortunately, I have to continue that trend.
Gosh, I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it, Jess, when we're absolutely in tune with each other, because it's going to Moira. It's unforgivable. And I think not only for what happened, because I think equal credit for that could also go to Johnny.
Sure.
But she tells him. And it's, he didn't.
And it wigs him out.
Yeah. And also was mocking him. Well, not mocking him, but like bringing up the bullying.
It's all bad. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a very bad David and Moira episode in terms of like kind of them getting on and stuff. Yeah, she brings it back towards the end, but I think David would be well within his rights to give her the silent treatment at least for a bit. Like, certainly. I feel that was I think it was just it was a really bad move. Bad move, and I can't forgive it. I'm really sorry, Moira. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Even though we are wearing wigs to one of you.
Yes. She's an incredible character. She's hysterical. I love her. It's not a great look for her. So unfortunately, we'll be taking points away from Moira this week. We will still honor her with our wigs. We don't have a wig to discuss this episode because she didn't wear one. So, you know, that's that. Did she? Did she wear one?
I just realized that.
Oh, you made a face and I was like, did I forgot to take a screenshot?
No, I just realized that she's not even honoring us with a wig. Moira,
I know.
Definitely.
And I've honored her with this bubblegum pink realness that she sported in much better fashion like 2 episodes ago.
It's me with this dead raccoon or whatever this is.
Yeah, that's been spray painted.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about where this episode belongs on our tier list here. Do you have any idea, Stuart, where you want to put this?
Certainly above last week's. That's base level. Yes. We definitely know it's above that. I think this is. I thought this was a really good episode. I thought that this was slightly above average for me, but I'm not sure if I'm looking at that like through a weird lens because of last week.
I think for me, it's easy to put it above Murder Mystery and to put it out of You, David, to begin with. I think we started and loved that journey for me. I feel like it has better plot progression and funnier moments than Thruple and Rooms by the Hour. Yeah, I don't think it's as good as Driving Test. I think Driving Test is better. I think it's funnier, and I still love that Alexis and David moment with Alexis just like smirking out the window. I would argue that it probably belongs at the top of Love That Journey for me, because I think it's good, not great. I think is where I land. Like, I like it. I think it's funny. I think it has plot progression. Doesn't necessarily have the like warm and fuzzy vibes necessarily. Like there's a Stevie moment where she suggests it, but it's more humor than it is warm fuzzy. What do you think? Do you like it and Love That Journey for me, or would you bump it to full bouquet?
No, I completely agree. I think this certainly suits it being in there. It was funny enough. You mentioned the whole David and Alexis moment in the car and that kind of bonding moment and the kind of the look away and smile that Alexis had. That for me cemented that this episode wasn't up to that par. So yeah, I think it's certainly much, much better than both Rooms by the Hour and the Thruple, but certainly not as good as Driving Test. So keep it in this tier.
All right, great. We got
Love That Journey for me.
And we get to
Perfect.
use the soundbite.
I love when it lands, and I love that journey for me, and we get to use the soundbite.
Mhm.
So that's it for that episode. Stuart, would you like to hear the title of season 3, episode 8?
Indeed.
Motel Review.
I wonder if they're going to get that star. If they don't, I'm going to be furious.
Well, we'll have to see next week. We're not going to be alone next week, which is very exciting. We will be joined by a very special guest, JD, a returning guest on the podcast. So really excited to talk to them about the episode.
So looking forward to that.
Yes. Anything else, Stuart? I think that's everything we've got for this one.
I mean, I don't want to keep this going longer than we have to. But I'm gonna try to, because I know that that wig is scratching right now, and you really want to get rid of it. So I'm just gonna try and vamp, see how long we can get this going.
Oh, my ear itches more than anything, because it's like the wig is on, but then the headphones are pushing the wig hair onto my ears, which makes them very scratchy. And I've been adjusting the bangs all episode. So for those who did watch the video, I hope you enjoyed your time with the wigs, as this will be ripped off of my head as soon as the podcast is over. But should we try to come up with something, Stuart, for 200 YouTube subscribers? What should the thing be for 200 YouTube subscribers? Maybe we ask the class. Maybe we ask the listeners.
Yeah, let's take suggestions.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do to kind of torture us.
Yeah, how would you torture us once we get to 200 YouTube subscribers?
Thematically. I'm not just down for just general abuse. It has to be in theme of the show.
I don't want to be waterboarded. I draw the line somewhere,
I mean, it's good to get that on record.
Let's just throw it out there. That is at least one line I have drawn. So let us know what you think. Of course, send us in a 5-star review. If you do, we will read it on the podcast. We greatly appreciate anyone who listens. And thank you all for getting us to 100 YouTube subscribers. It's maybe a small number, but it's triple digits, and it means a lot to us. So thank you so much. Don't forget to send in any feedback you have, podcast@talkinshit.com. Follow us on all the social medias at Talkin' Shit. You know where to find us. I'm at the Jess Sterling. Stuart's at Stuart Drinks Tea. We'll be back next week with Motel Review. And until then, everyone, warmest regards.
And best wishes.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.